All right, everyone, welcome back. Today's lesson, we're going to look at economics in the age of industry. So here's our objectives and standards again as usual. Compare and contrast the ways of economic thinking during the age of industry, and summarize the ideas of Marx and Engels, in terms of economic relationships. And please again take a look at the standards if you would. So a couple of vocabulary words: laissez-faire, capitalism, utilitarianism, socialism. So think about this: can industrialization impact the economy in a negative way? So we talked about how it can have some positive effects and some negative effects, but can it affect the economy in a negative way? So not just on a personal scale for people, but can it affect the economy in a negative way? So we're going to look at some of these viewpoints of the economy and some of the changes that people are going to suggest. So our central question: what new ways of economic thinking came about during the Industrial Revolution? So staying out of business. So during the Enlightenment in France, many thinkers thought that government should allow free trade and stay out of business regulations. So there's a term that's referred to as laissez-faire, which means let do in French, which is basically saying let people do what they want to do, let businesses do what they want to do. People know how to run their businesses the best. Businesses know how to run their companies the best. In other words, government should stay out of business and let business run itself and know what it needs to do and what it shouldn't do. Okay? And these people also believe that a world without government interference in the business sector will prosper. So the world will prosper if the governments don't get involved in the economic and business sectors. So Adam Smith was a professor in Scotland in 1776, and he supports the idea that economic freedom can lead to economic progress. So in his book, Wealth of Nations, he stated that government should not interfere in the business atmosphere of companies and things like that. And his picture is down there at the bottom for you as well. Okay, so now other thinkers also support the idea of capitalism. Capitalism is an economic system where the factors of production are controlled privately and money is invested in businesses. So like Smith, others believed it was the best way to improve society. And two of these examples are Thomas Malthus and David Ricardo, were also two well-known thinkers who supported the idea of capitalism. Now, there is also opposition to capitalism. Some believe that government should intervene to improve the lives of the people. So in the late 1700s, English philosopher Jeremy Bentham introduced the idea of utilitarianism. He believed that people should judge things based on their utility or usefulness. And he also believed that government should do everything possible to help people achieve this, to help form this type of society or this belief. Okay? In the 1800s, John Stuart Mill is going to lead the movement, and he is going to question unregulated capitalism. So again, this idea of just capitalism, not reformed enough, where it, is taking advantage of people. He also believed that government should do more to control and reform capitalism. And he also supported the right of women to vote and was a big supporter of education and prison reforms. Again, we'll talk about these last three things we just talked about a little bit later on in our class, but this was kind of a new idea for a lot of people to be coming about to. So utopian society. Robert Owen was a British factory owner who was shocked by the way the working class had lived. He'd seen his workers living in poverty, working long hours, children in factories. So he was really kind of taken aback by all this stuff. So he built homes for his workers and rented these homes to his workers for low rates. And he also reformed working conditions for children. So he also improved that a little bit. In 1825, he traveled to the United States to build a utopia, or a perfect society. Now, the society that he built only lasted about 3 years, or lasted 3 years to correct myself, but was an example for other utopian groups. And other utopian groups are going to come about in America especially, that are going to try to form this perfect society. So here's a picture of Robert Owen, and then this is a picture here, or a drawing of what his utopian society looked like. It was just everybody was supposed to be equal, I suppose, and and live in comfort and no struggles or anything like that. So it was an idea that was going to build a perfect society, but unfortunately did not work out. All right, let's talk about socialism. So socialism grew to combat the negatives or the bad things about industrialization. So French thinkers like Charles Fourier, and I apologize if I've said before, and my French isn't the greatest, and Saint Simon believed that the government should plan the economy. Okay, so government should be involved in planning the economy. And so in socialism, the factors of production are owned by the public and used for the welfare of everyone. Okay, so unlike where businesses are in charge of that, the factors of production are used by everybody. So a radical rise in socialism came about when a German journalist by the name of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, who was the son of a factory owner, wrote the Communist Manifesto. And this was an introduction to a radical form of socialism called Marxism. So in the Communist Manifesto, they claimed that the middle class, or the bourgeoisie, which are the employers, the people who run the factories or the businesses, are becoming wealthy off the labor of the workers, or the proletariat. Okay, so basically the wealthy are getting rich off the labor and the struggles of the poor. They also suggested that workers should rebel against their employers. So Marx believed that eventually the capitalist system would fall, and this would happen when the workers or the proletariat would revolt and seize economic production. Marx called this final stage communism, which is it means production owned by the people. Okay, and all goods and services would be equally shared as well. I'm sure you've probably heard this term before. You've probably heard in the news or other people talk about it. There are communist countries in the world today that do follow this belief. So this is the beginning of that movement. All right, let's wrap it up here. Smith and other supporters of capitalism supported freedom of business. Remember, we talked about laissez-faire and how businesses should make their own decisions, and they know what works best. And others, like Unitarianism and socialism, they stood for reform and equality for people. And then we have the extreme socialism, which by Marx and Engels, which was in the forms of Marxism and communism. Okay, so that's all I have for this class. Make sure you answer the questions, and I will see or talk to you later.